Alright, Shalom, it's your brother Yarashimon from the GMS Champagne and Illinois branch. For all things, we give all praises unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. We give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and citation to all the IQ. Us pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Alright, Shalom to the house of David. This is another lesson. Alright, and another clip off the brother Arrows of Indignation 144. And we're just going to play it and get right into it.
Passed a 10-day extension of FISA Section 702, the warrantless surveillance program that lets the government read your communications without a judge's approval. But also, the full story is crazy. The Republicans revolted. Trump wanted a clean 18-month extension. Speaker Mike Johnson also tried a 5-year version with some reforms, but both got tanked when around 20 Republicans sided with Democrats to vote them down. So this 10-day extension was the last resort so that the program didn't lapse on Monday. And a quick reminder, Section 702 gives intelligence agencies the power to spy on foreigners outside of the United States without ever going to a judge. The catch, though, is that any American who talks to one of those foreigners, right, a call, a text, an email, they get pulled into the same database. The FBI, they have a long history of abusing it, right? There was a 2024 court filing that found that the FBI broke their own rules searching the database for information on January 6 defendants, as well as people involved in the 2020 George Floyd protests. And so the holdouts for the longer extension, they want a warrant requirement before the FBI can search Americans' data. But Trump and CIA Director Ratcliffe, they have been working hard against that, with Trump saying that the program is critical to, quote, our military patriots on the battlefield, right, a reference to Iran. As far as the feelings of most, maybe Democrat Jim McGovern kind of summed it all up on the House floor, saying, quote, are you kidding me? Who the hell is running this place?
Trump just said he's willing to give up the rights and privileges of U.S. citizens for the great military in our country. Let's talk about FISA 702 and why it's one of the most important things every American needs to be aware of. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is designed to allow the government to spy on anyone without a warrant. It was originally created to target foreigners. However, it allows the CIA, FBI, NSA, and other government agencies to tap into your communications. It's being heavily used against American citizens, especially journalists, activists, members of Congress, and even Trump himself.
Alright, so anybody who, quote unquote, goes against the status quo, then what you're targeting. Alright, so I'm going to bring this scripture as Isaiah 29:21. It says, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. Alright, so these devils are what? Gonna make you an offender for the word, alright? Alright, for just blatantly speaking the truth and bringing out what's going on in the world. You're labeled a T word, alright? A domestic T word, which you should already know exactly what I mean. Alright, that's the hypocrisy of the wicked. Alright? They don't want you to speak out against against their atrocities, man. And now it's coming to light that, hey, all you people are being heavily watched, and that's the spirit. Cause I was looking back and from our main page, GMS Champagne, and I did a video like 7 years ago where I went into the government red list and blue list, and that every U.S. citizen is on a certain list, and once they come and kick in doors and they snatch people, hey, depending on what list you're on, the red list you're labeled as death. All right, you're to be executed, and blue was you snatched up and be retaught, all right, and be re-educated back into society if possible, man. But hey, it just lets you know that, hey, these devils are getting closer and closer into making a move. Alright? This is the spirit of Esau Edom, is to be the most high, to have full control over every damn thing, man. That's why that's in his spirit, to want to search out all these things. Matter of fact, the book of Psalm 64 and 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, for the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who with their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot at the secret at the Shalakia. Let me slow down. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil manner, They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? So that's what these devils do, man. They lay these traps and snares, all right, in private, all right, and they think that nobody's gonna see them. All right, that's why when these declassified government documents come out, all right, while they're doing them, hey, they don't fear. All right, it says they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. All right, and that word deep goes into mysterious. All right, so these devils, they search everything out you do. That's why they want to know your communications, right? What you search up on the web. All right, they have a everybody has, I believe it's called a IP, if I remember the right terminology for it. But everyone has basically a personal, I would say like a digital straw man, all right, that has everything that you do online, all right, at least everything that they have access of you doing, and they have it stored somewhere, man. So this is gonna key right into the beast system, right, which is gonna be straight a digital prison when they start to roll out these social credit scores and things of that matter. It's all going to tie into each other. All right.
Matter of fact, before Trump was elected, he was targeted. He was furious that they were tapping into his phone calls and messages. But now that he's president, he wants it to remain in full force and effect with a huge vote right around the corner. Now here's where things get even uglier. The Guardian obtained a document that reveals the NSA is actually routinely sharing information with Israel before scrubbing out data on Americans. And the justifications are easy. Anyone who is against the atrocities happening in Gaza or a policy with Israel could be connected to Hamas. Now, I don't have to tell you, but this is a major violation of our privacy and rights. And interestingly enough, the majority of Democrats and Republicans haven't been vocally against this. Democrats has literally only said that he's for reform, but not that he's against the policy at all.
There's a database created by the federal government that may contain your conversations and emails collected without a warrant or consent from anyone and used by federal law enforcement to keep tabs on journalists, BLM protesters, or any U.S. citizen, really, that the government wants to investigate. And it exists by law. And I'm going to have a deep dive on Substack about this, but you should know that all of this was created and hidden under an Anti-Terrorism Act known as Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance.
All right, so that's the T word right there, all right? That's what they're going to label you as, all right, for coming against, quote unquote, what their NWO, all right? Their New World Order, what they plan to establish. Starting over here in America, it was going to be horrific, all right, over here in Babylon. All right, but when they plan to implement this NWO, anybody who's against it, all right, they plan on destroying you, all right? They plan on putting you to death, man. All right, this is what's coming. Let me grab something real quick. Bear me 1 second. All right, so this is Revelation. I'm gonna start at 13. I'm gonna start at verse 12. It says, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Matter of fact, I might as well bring it up to verse 11. And beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and it had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spake as a dragon. All right, which is a speaking of America, right? That 2 horns, that two political parties, all right, Republicans, Democrats, same as with Rome, you had 2 political parties. It says, and it exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth earth which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. All right, that first beast was Rome. All right, it said whose deadly wound was healed, because when you look at America, it's just it's Rome all over again. All right, when you got the Renaissance era in the 1400s, which Renaissance translates to what the rebirth. And what was it rebirthing? What was that Roman culture, all right? Which eventually what you get birthed America. It says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from the earth in the sight of men. All right, which is the nuclear destruction. It says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had the power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. All right, so they wrote that Roman culture. All right, so now this devil, he has the technology, all right, to do these miracles on the planet Earth, man. All right, what's coming, especially what's coming with the AI and the micro C-hit, man. You people, this devil's about to start making people paraplegic, walking again, and so on and so forth. All right, causing miracles upon the earth, deceiving them to take his mark. It says, and he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right, so if you go against this, hey, you'll be put to death. All right, that's what he plans on doing, man. And in that word killed, it doesn't always have to mean physically killed. All right, that word can go into being separated. All right, so you'll be separated from the society. All right, his new world order that he plans on implementing.
Or FISA. And that law is set to expire on April 20th, but the Pentagon is urging lawmakers to just renew it. That law was originally passed to allow the government to track foreign threats through warrantless surveillance. And while that law specifically prohibits surveilling U.S. citizens, green card holders, or really anybody inside of the United States, communications involving these people are still collected accidentally, and when they are, they're still stored and cataloged. And that allows federal agents, including the FBI, to lawfully search the database using names of U.S. citizens, for example, to see what communications from them made it into the net, and then use that information for investigations and even for prosecution. Sounds unconstitutional? It probably is, but this is how the government has managed to perform warrantless surveillance on BLM activists, protesters, journalists, even a sitting U.S. congressperson.
All right, so this is 1 Peter 5:8. It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking who he may devour. All right, so you have to be aware. Don't be ignorant of Satan's devices. All right, we know that this devil, he's always watching, but when this devil makes his move, the Lord is going to destroy him, man. All right, when this devil makes it, he decide, all right, he's big and bad enough to come for the children, all right, the prophets, so Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Then the Lord is gonna what? Isaiah 59. Shalaki, hold on. Isaiah 59. I'm gonna start at 15. It said, yeah, truth faileth, and he that parted from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it did please him that there was no judgment. So when you separate yourself from this wicked society, what you ultimately make yourself a prey unto evil. But the Lord, he ain't with that. It says, and he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no ancestor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and a helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So they shall fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. Where the enemy shall come in like a flood. All right, so when they try to corner the men of the Lord, it says the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. All right, so that standard is gonna be lifted, man. All right, so the Lord's gonna make a way. All right, rather he gives a way for you to escape. All right, or he just gives you spiritual power to just thrash them damn devils, however it may be. But the Lord gonna make a way. All right, so I'm gonna end it right there. So with that, I'm gonna give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of the great meal. So until next time, I Shalom.